Two county lines dealers, one from Birmingham, are behind bars after being caught in photos posing with guns and bundles of cash whilst boasting about making mad bread. Alexi Da'Costa, who's 24, and Tyrone James, who's 23, ran a crack and heroin operation but were captured thanks to incriminating photos and messages on their phones. Mobile phone snaps showed the pair flaunting their wealth by posing with wads of cash and wielding deadly weapons at their homes on a quiet suburban streets. Court heard the pair had been best friends until they fell out with each other and one stabbed the other, leading to a series of events which led to their arrests. Detectives found messages on phones linked to the Rocky and Mitch lines run by the duo, including damning texts from Da'Costa. One read, "I got to make a profit, I ain't trapping for nothing," and another said, "I'm making mad bread." There were also messages showing how he actively tried to recruit others to join his team, with one saying, "You want to trap? Who for? Me." James and Da'Costa were found guilty of conspiracy to supply Class A drugs at Leicester Crown Court. Da'Costa was jailed for 7 years and James, known to drug users as TJ Trap, was jailed for 5 years and 4 months at Northampton Crown Court. Sentencing Judge William Habaraj KC told him drug dealing was an evil trade. It causes misery to the end user, the addicts who take drugs, and it affects their health and causes them to fall into debt. Often threats are made, often threats of violence. There were photographs found in a number of phones of the two of you posing with bundles of cash enjoying the trappings of drug dealing. There were photographs of the two of you with firearms. Mr. James, when you were interviewed, you said you moved out of Corby because Mr. Da'Costa had snaked and stabbed you. Before that, you'd been the best of friends, you were operating together as equal partners, and you had dreams of becoming something. Letters written by relatives have described Da'Costa's most recent offending as an aberration, but Judge Habaraj said it is not. It was a pattern of offending which you've been engaged in for at least 4 years. Said you were described as vulnerable, but you are not quite so vulnerable as you make out. At trial, you interrupted the prosecution to make your point in cross-examination. You're not as suggestible as you made out to be. They were obviously others who in the chain had some pressure on you, but you were not compelled to do what you did. You enjoyed the money you made out of it, and you had plenty of opportunity to stop if you'd wished to do so. The court heard the pair, along with other members of their gang, rumbled when police raided a property in Corby and found drugs and phones ringing off the hook. The drug lines supplied crack and heroin to addicts across Corby and into the West Midlands and Norfolk. After the case, neighbours told how the men brought trouble to the quiet suburban streets they lived in. A man living close to where Da'Costa lived said they were in and out of all hours, different people visiting, none of them desirable. It was very scary. I couldn't even come out of my own house. I was that scared. He said, this is a nice street and people actually pay big money to live in the streets, and to have characters like that, it was disgraceful. Detective Inspector Tory Harrison said tackling drug harm is a matter of priority for Northamptonshire Police, and we hope that this investigation demonstrates that drug dealing is taken seriously by both police and the courts. He said we hope the successful conviction of these men also sends us a clear message to those involved in the illegal drugs trade, whether you're a street-level dealer orchestrating wholesale supply. If you choose to go down this route, we will disrupt your activities and bring you to justice. 4 men who smuggled £4.3 million worth of weed to the UK from Ghana in sacks of food have been jailed. The drugs were discovered by Border Force officers inside a shipping container at Tilbury Docks during a police sting. Daniel Yeboah, who's 54, Christopher Baidu, who's 48, Kwaku Bonsu, who's 52, and Edward Adjay, who's 48, from Essex, were found guilty by a jury after a 3-week trial at Suffolk Crown Court. The container arrived at the South Essex docks from Ghana in December 2019, where it was held before continuing its journey to London. Intelligence obtained by the NCA and the Ghanaian Narcotics Control Commission suggested it contained drugs. The search confirmed that 2,335 packages of cannabis weighing a combined 1.5 tons were hidden inside sacks of gari powder, a food made from ground-up cassava roots. Officers estimate the street value of the drug would have been approximately £4 million. The drugs were seized from the sacks and replaced with dummy packages, and on the morning of January the 13th, 2020, the container travelled from Tilbury docks on the back of a lorry to an industrial yard in North London under the watch of officers. It was met by Yeboah, who signed the delivery note using the fake signature, and a worker at the yard removed the container seal with an angle grinder. Bonsu was observed by NCA officers circling around the industrial yard in his car before taking photographs of the container using his mobile phone, and Ajay was spotted dropping Beidou off at the yard. Seemingly realizing the drugs were missing, they all then fled the site in different cars, abandoning the load shortly after the container was opened. As the men left the area, officers were in tow and all were arrested later that day. Yeboah and Adeji were arrested in Homerton, Beidou and Stratford, and Bonsu in Edmonton. The NCA senior investigating officer Saju Sasikumar said, "Today's result is testament to the joint international work between NCA and the Ghanaian Narcotics Control Commission to intercept the drug shipments and the tireless efforts of our officers to identify the criminal group behind its importation. Had this huge haul of cannabis reached the UK supply chain, it would fuel exploitation through counterlines activity as well as serious knife crime and violence. Putting these harmful criminal groups before the courts and dismantling their illegal operation is a key part of the NCA's mission to protect the public from serious and organised crime." A 10-ton hydraulic press, often used for compressing drugs, was found at Beidou's address, and a number of devices were seized from the men, including mobile phones and dash cams from their vehicles. Footage downloaded from the dash cam in Adeji's Toyota picked up his phone calls to Beidou and Yeboah shortly after the container arrived at the yard. During a call with Yeboah, he said, "My brother, be a little watchful. It all seems a little bit dodgy." Yeboah was also picked up on later calls telling Adeji, "I don't think the food is in it. There was Gary inside. They have removed most of the Gary. The people are thieves." Text messages and emails found on Beidou's mobile phone uncovered a plot to take delivery of the drugs at the yard, and he had rented under a fake name to disguise his identity. There's also evidence that a bank account belonging to Bonsu made multiple payments to a shipping company for the containers to be delivered from Tilbury docks to the North London yard. They're all going to be sentenced on the 18th of October. Absolute madness, guys. So there's a number of stories coming out from the streets of the UK. Once again, if you already haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please drop a little like, and also, if you can, leave some comments in there as well, because it's been a long time since I've responded back to people, but now I've got a bit of time. Just want to see how everyone's getting along during these tough times. But once again, big respect going out to each and every one of you that supported this platform and essentially made it what it is. It's your boy GT. Keep it locked, keep it real.